Is that what's on your ID?
It is. Well, I haven't got my ID yet. It should be my advisory. It should be on my ID.
Mason. And Zoe.
Good morning, Fayetteville High School. It is Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. Please join me for a minute of silence. Thank you very much. Will you please stand for the pledge? United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's right across the line.
Well, good morning, guys. I can't say that I've ever had a class where I knew everybody except for 4 students on the first day. So it's nice to meet those of you that are here for the first time. So I've got a pretty easy first day set aside for us. We're mostly going to review some U substitution. But I guess before I get into what BC is going to be like and how it's different than AB and all that kind of stuff, we need to just do some procedural things. So you should have picked up some handouts on the front desk. If you didn't think to do that today, that's okay. But I always put them there for you just because it's the easiest way for you to get them. One of them should be a syllabus. And so if you would, just scan through that real quick. It's going to tell you how your grade's made up, talk about late work. And I think it's pretty straightforward, but if you have questions, I want to go ahead and get those out the way. So skim that real quick for me and see if there's anything you want to ask. David, you're at this one up here in the middle. If you just came in, I'm giving a second to scan through the syllabus and make sure that there's nothing you want clarified. Okay, it looks like most of you have already moved on. So I guess the highlights to me in the syllabus would be your grade breakdown, consistent with how it's been the last few years. Nice of you to join us.
Thank you. Wow. Late on the first day.
Yeah, not a good look.
Not a good look.
Consistent with how it's been the last few years. Major category, minor category. Major is 60% of your grade, minor is 40% of your grade. Major will be the big tests, big quizzes. Minor will be small quizzes, homework, classwork, all the other stuff. So it's been that way for years in all of your math classes, so I have to keep that consistent. Late work, I do have credit for late work, but you're welcome to still get that credit as long as you fully complete it and turn it in before we get to that big assessment. It's got the honor code on there. I don't know, nothing else really jumps out at me. Is there anything about the syllabus that you saw that you're concerned about? Okay, so I do ask that you guys do a binder for this class. So those of you that have had me before, exactly the same thing. Basically, just keep the assignments in order and number them. This year I'm going to try to number most of them for you. So if you notice the syllabus has a big number 1 in the top right, just means it's going to go first. The second thing though, there is a couple websites I need you to sign up for. Google Classroom, AP Classroom, stuff like that. That's one of your other handouts, and you can see that one's not numbered. I can't number them all, just with how the copy machine stuff works. So you should put a big number 2 on it, and when you have a binder for this class, just put it behind number 1. So if you have, and that's it, that's all I ask you to do. 3 will go behind 2, 4 goes behind 3. Number your assignments and keep them in order. That's all I ask. And for those of you that have had me as a math teacher before, you know if you are good at staying organized. So I would say if you didn't stay as organized as you had hoped last year, let's go ahead and make some adjustments and correct that this year. Since it's about 10 seconds of work each class, it shouldn't be a big deal, but don't let yourself get it all scrambled up. Okay, on number 2, there's a couple websites I'd like you to sign up for. So if I cannot allow you to use your phones, so if you don't have your Chromebook and charged with you today, you'll have to do this for homework. But if you have your Chromebook, go ahead and get it out. There's one website I'm going to ask you to bookmark, and 2 websites I will ask you to sign up for. So if you want to go ahead and start doing that, I will discuss how we will use each of these. So the last one is AP Classroom. So I don't use AP Classroom too much for Calculus AB, but we'll use it a little bit more for BC for some practice opportunities. But the big one is signing up for AP Classroom is how the school knows to order you an AP exam. So if you never sign up for AP Classroom, the school does not ever know to order you an AP exam for this class. So it's important to get that done. The second one is Google Classroom, where I'll send out announcements. In fact, there should be one coming through today about tutoring opportunity for those of you that know you need some tutoring hours. I posted it yesterday, but I think it should show up once you join the class. So you might scan that and see if that's something you're interested in doing. It is a limited number of tutoring spots available, so if you are interested, you should jump on that opportunity. But like I did last year, Google Classroom, I'll also give you the opportunity to turn in assignments early in the Google Classroom. But if you don't want to do that, you can still give me the hard copies that I'm asking for at the start of the class. Of course, the only problem with always doing hard copies is sometimes you lose papers and you'd have to redo it. Sometimes you forget papers at home and you'd get late credit. So Google Classroom is a way for you to turn it in early and not have to worry about that. So that's why I have you sign up for that one. Of course, make sure that you're signing up for the correct period. If you sign up for the wrong Google Classroom or the wrong AP Classroom, all I can do is kick you out of them, and then you still need to go back and sign up for the correct one. So make sure you're using the correct code. And then the top one is going to be our class website for BC. So again, I try not to keep referring to past, but again, I've had all but 4 of you as students at some point, so you kind of know how I like to run things. But that website, that's where I'll put any and all information that I think will be helpful to you. So I will talk about that more in depth in just a second, but I will shut up and let you get signed up for those classes real quick. Okay, if you're still working on that, it's fine. But I did want to talk about the class website here, because some of this is a little bit different if I haven't seen you for a few years, and I know some of you are new here. So the first website I asked you to bookmark, as I mentioned a moment ago, that's where I try to put all the extra resources, places to get extra copies, places to check your answers, resources to get extra practice, all that kind of stuff. But some of the more useful things, I think, in the top left, you can see that it looks like a calendar. So I do record all of our classes and post them after class. So for example, if you had been absent today, the 21st for first period, here this afternoon, that will become a link. And so if you happen to be gone, or maybe you were 20 minutes late to class and you don't know what happened, you can click that. You'll see the same stuff that's on the screen. You'll hear the same thing that I'm saying to you guys. So that way, if you miss, sick, school business, whatever, you don't have to be too stressed about falling behind. You should see and hear and get all the same information that everybody else is getting. In the top right, that'll be where I post the agendas. So sometimes it makes sense to just scan that real quick. A 10-second scan will give you an idea of what you missed, or maybe if you forget if there's homework, you forgot if there's something that needs to be turned in. I won't ever ask you to turn something in just verbally. I will verbalize it and put it on the agenda. So this is the same agenda that was up on the board when you came in. It's the exact same thing. There's some other stuff in the middle that I'll come back to in just a second, but then the main thing is, if you scroll all the way down, I will have the resources and stuff posted at the bottom, organized in the same order I ask you to do a binder. So notice number 1 is syllabus. I don't know why you would want an extra copy, but if you did, maybe you lost yours, you could click that download it and go print it off somewhere. Same with number 2. If you lose it, there's an extra copy. I don't know why you would need that. But then a lot of times with math, and this doesn't show too much right now, but if you wanted an extra copy, like maybe you used a pen the first time and it got super messy, or you were out, you missed class on Friday and it's the weekend, you want to get a copy of it so that you can get started. If you prefer to do that over notebook paper, you can click that, download it, and print it out. But most of the time, I'm going to have stuff like, let's look at, I'm not teaching pre-cal this year, but most of the time there's going to be videos of specific questions that people ask, or I will link when we do book assignments, specific questions that have been worked out, so that if you just need help with number 16, you can just click number 16 and it will take you to that. Sometimes there's solution links so that you can check your work, make sure you're doing it correctly. Sometimes I'll put extra practice squeezed in here. I don't know, probably under limits. Okay, maybe not, but sometimes I do if I know of it. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all of our stuff for this class. You just go to that and then scroll all the way down. Now, in the middle, I kind of skimmed over this because this is the best way to give you guys a 10-second description of what's different about BC versus AB. So when you take, a lot of people don't know this, but when you take the BC exam at the end of the year, some of the questions on your AP exam will actually be AB questions, the same AB questions that the AB students are taking. Even some of the FRQs are exactly the same. The AP exam you took last year, some of your multiple choice and some of your FRQs were the exact same one that BC students got. So last year in AB, you had to do units 1 through 8. This was how each one was weighted on multiple choice. In BC, we have 2 completely new units, Unit 9 and Unit 10. Unit 9 is not too bad, and Unit 10 is pretty tough. And then there's about 6 other random things. There's 3 or 4 advanced integration techniques, stuff that's a little bit like U substitution, but it does different integrals. So there's a couple of those things. But I like to point this out to you because you need to see that you will get tested over AB stuff again at the end of this year. It just will count for less than what it did on your AP exam. And as far as the new content goes, we've got 2 full complete units plus about 6 other topics that we have to squeeze in. But the trade-off is that they are, especially Unit 10, notoriously pretty hard. But we have time as a big resource here. We're not near as much as in a hurry as we have to be for AB. So for that reason, and I'll show you guys sometime, you don't need to see it on day 1, but BC scores are usually very, very good, especially compared to AB. AB, I think the global score, it's usually like 60% of the students pass the AB exam, and then for BC it's usually like 88% of students pass it, so quite a bit. The other good thing is, if you got a 1 or a 2 on your AP exam last year, when you take the AP exam this year, since some of the questions are AB topics only, you actually get 2 scores. You get an AB subscore and a BC subscore. So if you didn't pass the AB exam last year, you have an opportunity with this AP exam to get BC credit and AB credit. Of course, if you passed the AB exam last year, then you can only earn the BC credit, but we'll try to at least raise your AB scores as well, since you really should probably know this stuff anyway. You'll probably keep going on with calculus at this point. So, I don't know. I think BC will be pretty fun. This is my first year teaching it. Ms. Cross used to teach it for us for a long time, but as you guys know, she has left us, so she's just been driving from Van Buren for the last couple years, so it's a long drive every day, so can't blame her for that. Okay, so I know that's a real rough overview, but is there any dying questions you want to ask about BC? Okay, so my plan is, and we will again, this is my first time teaching it, so some of this will be very tentative, but my plan is to sprinkle in the new BC topics and then mix in some review with that. So that way we're constantly using this AB stuff, not forgetting it, so that you can still get that stuff right at the end of the year. But I will strategically try to pick out stuff that I think is going to help you with the next BC topic. And then that way we're not just doing BC all crammed together at the start of the year and then or at the end of the year. It'll be spread out and make it where you remember it better long term. So with that in mind, the first BC topic we're going to do is some of those advanced integration techniques. And all I mean by that is I'm going to ask you to integrate something that you can't do by hand. It's not one that we memorize like we can do in AB, and U substitution is not good enough like we did in AB. There's a few other tricks, techniques we can do to solve different integration problems. But honestly, to be able to do some of that, we need to remember and feel fluid with the U substitution. So that's what I've got on our plan this morning, is to start that off. So again, it's good review, but also I'm helping build you towards what the next BC topics are going to be. So this one, is this numbered, number 3? I have the number on there? Okay. So I'm going to start you off. Some of you guys are already on number 4. Please don't go to number 4 yet. I'm going to give you specific directions. This one's number 3. And obviously, if everybody was perfect and great at U substitution, this would not be a good class use of our class time, and I would pick something else different for you. But even if you guys have had a whole summer in between you, and I'm going to guess you didn't do any U substitution over the summer? No?
None.
So let me go over, let's do a couple together. Just as a quick little review, and as always, you're welcome to just follow along, copy these down as notes, and then I'll ask you to try to do some on your own, and we'll see how these go. Okay, so we've got some definite integrals, which is a little bit harder U substitution. So again, until next class, I mean, surely nobody would miss the second day of class. See, you distracted me. I don't know what I was saying. Okay, but last year, either integration, it either had to be something, a derivative you had memorized that you were just undoing, or you were undoing chain rule, or I'm sorry, power rule. But to me, that's kind of a memorization one too. Or you did U substitution. So until Friday, those are the only things we need to worry about. So how, go ahead and record this one. Might be helpful for somebody later. Okay, so looking at this mess of stuff, how did we make educated guesses about what U should probably be?
Usually, like, what's trapped?
Trapped. Trapped where?
Maybe in the parentheses, or like with the exponent.
Okay.
Raised to a power.
All right, so this is under the third power, so a good guess, because again, we never really know for sure. And at the end of the day, you just have to pick something. You don't want to just stare at the question for 10 minutes. Pick something. Then we took the derivative of both sides with respect to x, and then multiply the dx over. That way you've got du stuff on one side and dx and dx stuff on the other side. Now the idea here is that we're going, it's called U substitution because you're going to substitute the stuff. I don't want a bunch of x stuff, I want just U stuff. So instead of saying x squared plus 1 cubed, I could just say U cubed. But the other pieces, and this is important, this is the hardest part for students with U substitution. The other pieces is 1x dx. I don't know what 1x dx looks like yet, But if I divide this side by 2 and divide this side by 2, now I can see in place of x dx, I can put du. Okay, I have a common mistake that I wrote down on my paper here. What did I not consider doing?
Putting in 1/2.
Okay, that's also true. That was an honest mistake. There's still something else wrong. Yeah. Right. Remember, 0 to 1 was when we were talking about x values. When you switch it to u, you've got to change these limits of integration. So plug in 0 here. When x is 0, u is 1. And when x is 1, u is 2. So you have options here. And this is the way I do it to be consistent. I just do it the same way every time to be consistent. You can leave it 0 and 1 if you put this back in place for u after you integrate. If you leave your stuff in terms of x's, you can use 0 and 1. But if you're going to work all with u's the rest of the question, you need to change these limits of integration. When x is 0, plug it in here, solve for u. When x is 1, plug it in here, solve for u. And if you do use substitution correctly, you should be left with one that we can do, undo in our head. So this is just undoing power rule, raise the power by 1, divide by the new power. Okay, and again, I know it's been summer break for you, but which one of these two numbers do I plug in first, or does it matter?
The top one.
Right, is that because it's bigger or because it's the top one?
Because it's the top.
Because it's a top one.
Because it's the top one. So we've got 1/8 times 2 to the 4th, which is too slow. Plug in 1, and we end up with 15/8. Okay, I'm going to go over another example with you. If you would, if you flip this over and look on the back page, does it have the answers on the bottom of the back?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay. I almost wish those weren't there though, because remember that your calculator, you need to be able to do this by hand because your AP exam will expect you to do it by hand. But your calculator can do definite integrals. So if the answers weren't there, I would be asking you to throw this whole thing in your calculator, get a decimal, put this in your calculator, get a decimal, and then you would see that these are equal and you would feel good about your answer. So just remember that your calculator could check that.
That's kind of funny. They make you do it by hand, even though if you're going to do it for work, you'll just use a calculator.
Well, but on the AP exam, they would not put that on the calculator portion though, or very unlikely. Okay, anything about question 1 that I went too quickly over? You remember all that, Tommy?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, good.
I got it.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to do one more for you on the board, and then I will let you guys work a little bit more together, and I'll come around and help with where you're stuck individually. So, question 2. Okay, so if we take Tommy's recommendation from last question, and we pick the thing under the square root, the thing stuck under something to be your u. Again, sometimes you're going to pick out a u, and in a couple steps you're going to realize that wasn't the best choice, and you just start over. That's not that big of a deal. But take the derivative of both sides with respect to x, multiply the dx over, and then start to make replacements. So it's called substitution because we're substituting out the x stuff for u stuff. So this is like the square root of u. That looks like a 4u. Okay, and then we need everything else to have a perfect fit. Everything has to fit somewhere. So right now, I know how much 3x squared dx is equal to. Well, unlike question 1, this one's actually ready to go. I don't have to do that extra step here that I did on the last question. In place of 3x squared dx, I can put du, which is exactly what I want it to be. It's a perfect fit. Now again, you could either integrate this, plug these x values back in place of u, and leave your limits of integration 0 to 2, or you can just change them right now and then not worry about it the rest of the time. So when x is 0, u is 1, and when x is 2, u would be 9. After substitution, you should be left with something that seems much more manageable, much easier for you to do in your head. Raise the power by 1, divide by the new power, plug in a 9 the first time because it's on top, plug in a 1 the next time because it's on bottom. And is this good enough?
Yep.
If this was a FRQ, this would be good enough. FRQs, you don't have to do any arithmetic. I'm going to say we need to keep going here because we need to make sure we get the same answer as the back, right? So they're going to make this look a little different. And multiple choice is never going to be this messy. So what is 9 to the 3 halves?
27.
Very good. How'd you do that?
Square root of 9 is 3 and 3 cubed.
Right, so do these individually. Exponent of a half is a square root, so he did the square root of 9 was 3, and then cubed it. 3 cubed gives us 27. So what about this one?
1.
Right, 1 cubed, and then the square root of that, or the square root of 1, and then cube that. Either way, you get 1. So in the end, we get 26 times 2/3. 3 does not go into that, does it? So 52/3. That's what they got. Okay, again, I know you saw this last year, but I'm trying not to go too fast, but I realize it may be too fast for just the second one since you've been back. Is there anything specific you want me to address about what I did on question 2? Okay. Then what I'd like you to do first is finish up this worksheet. And again, you've got all the answers on the bottom of the back page, so check them as you're going over them. As you get stuck, if you're writing your workout where I can read it and make sense of it, I can come around and help. But you got 4 more of those on that one, and then we will move on after that. So if you finish this one and you have all 6 answers correct, let me know so I can tell you what the directions are going to be on the next handout. You already done? Okay, there's a couple of these you won't know how to do. So the idea is one of these can use U substitution, one of these is U substitution, one of these is U substitution. So first pass through, just do the U substitution ones.
Do you want to do this one? No, I got it. I got it. Well, here I'm gonna get it. Or
Give me time.
I'm gonna move on. No.
I got my first 4 and then like 6. So yes.
So do you know what did it
Yes. What is this?
I'm saying, what did you want to do?
Then he just plugs it in.
Compared to that one?
He plugs it in.
Oh,
He plugs it in. Yes. So he's very nice.
Yeah.
So 3 minus 1, but he ends up on 2/3 you. I just think it's funny.
I don't know.
I agree with this derivative, but not that.
That's a lot. What's the, I'll ask Mr. Townsend my first question.
Well, that makes it a 2. And you just
Yeah.
want it to be 1, so now you're Ask me what?
I would like to ask you, what do you plug in for u? Once you get 9 and 1, you don't just plug in 9 for u, because that'd be the square root of 9, which is 3 minus the square root of 1.
But it's not u, it's not the u to the 1/2, it's u to the 3/2.
Where'd you get the u to the 3/2 from?
For integration. This is u to the 1/2.
Okay.
So to undo the power rule, you're gonna raise the power by 1.
U to
And
the
then
1/2.
divide by the new power. So that if you did the power rule to this.
And then you plug your values into that.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
And with full sum, you feel things like that.
I didn't forget it.
Probably didn't forget anything.
No, actually, I'm trying to forget it.
That makes so much more sense. I was like,
Yeah, and it'll be a few classes, but one of the integration things that we have to do for this class is called integration by parts. And it's kind of like u substitution. But instead of a u and a du, there's a u, du, a v, and a dv. So
Holy crap.
that's why you need to remember this part.
Hey, Braden.
Yes.
Braden.
Oh.
On 4, did you just take e to the, did you take all that? Like e of 1 minus x.
No, I just took the
Assuming times
sequence.
half.
Wait, sure? I'll try that. So then it'd be e to the, that makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else all the way done with this worksheet? Need the directions for the next one so that you're moving on? So on this one of these two will be u substitution and the other one won't. Just pick out which one u substitution and do it. And then same here. Only one of these two is u substitution, only one of these is u substitution. So just do the u substitutions first.
So that would be. So that's u to the negative 1/2 back. So you raise the power, so it's u to the 1/2. But then you have to divide by the power. So then it'd be 2. U to the 1/2. Does that make sense? Like if you do like you divide by the new power. Yeah, you could.
You want me to choose my which is me. It's like, you have myself, so I can use.
Yeah, because over here we got so wait, there wasn't equivalent. Because on the outside, because U was X.
So e to the x is e to the x.
Outside of the U is X. So it's D is 2X. In this case, we want opposite.
It's actually e to the u.
Well, no, 2X.
Okay, I'm gonna offer to work question 3 for you if anybody needs it. Anybody try 3 and not end up with the answer of 2.
Multiply by 1 half to do the same thing, so by 2X.
Yeah.
So we just get X. What was the question?
Everybody got 2 on number 3? It wouldn't help anybody for me to go over it?
Did you go over it?
Okay. Okay, so let's take your informations to go through it quickly and then we can slow down where you got stuck. What did you pick out for you?
2X plus 1.
Okay. So what did that make du equal to?
2x dx.
2x dx?
2 dx.
2 dx, okay. And so you start to make replacements over here. This is like 1 over the square root of u, right? Or, I know I'm going to have to integrate this in a minute, so instead of saying 1 over u to the 1/2, I'm just going to call this u to the negative 1/2. You okay with that?
I like that.
Okay, but there's one other part. That's just for this. This is why you need to keep up with every single thing. I have not replaced for dx yet. Dx and du are not the same in this question like they were in number 2. I need to replace 1 dx. I know how much 2 dx is. So if I divide this by 2, it makes this side be 1 dx. Divide this side by 2, tells me that in place of 1 dx, I need to do a 1/2 du. So, did you remember this 1/2? No? Okay, that's why you've got to make this very systematic. Force yourself to write these steps down every time because then it's harder to miss. Okay, undo power rule by raising the power by 1, dividing by the new power. Dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2. Instead of being 0 to 4, when x is 0, u is 1. When x is 4, u is 9. So we're going to get the square root of 9 minus the square root of 1, and that's where their answer of 2 comes from. Okay, anybody that was wanting me to work out that question have something specific now? I would recommend that wherever you got stuck, highlight that step or emphasize that step in some way. So, you know, if you forgot it over the 2 months of summer, then you might forget it in the 6 months of class. We're not going to get to do u substitution all the time. So, yeah, you may. So it's over here. You need to put your name on the whiteboard to take the pass, and then just take your name off the whiteboard when you bring it back. Yeah, guys, my bathroom pass is over here this year. Same as I did last year. If it's hanging up there, you're welcome to go, as long as it's not the first 10 or last 10 minutes of class. Put your name on the board to take the pass, and take your name off the board when you bring it back. That way I know who has it if you don't bring it back. Guess I should have stopped that.
F of secant is tangent secant. Is the derivative of secant? The derivative of secant is tangent secant, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Obviously.
Just ask Thompson. Obviously.
I said yes. I said yes.
Okay, let's see if we can figure that out. You wanted to know the derivative of secant?
Yes.
Okay, what's the most common way we rewrite secant in pre-calculus?
Cosine over sine.
That's cotangent.
Or, no, wait,
1 over
secant
cos.
is
1 over cosine. Okay. What's another way to take this derivative?
U substitution.
U substitution is integration.
Good thinking.
There's only a couple ways you have to do derivatives by hand. Either you memorize them. There's the blank rule, the blank rule, the blank rule. What rules are derivatives? Power rules 1.
X minus
Quotient rule.
Quotient rule is 1.
And product rule.
Product rule, chain rule. This is quotient. It's something divided by something. Okay, so that's fine. That tells me we need to practice the quotient rule a little bit. So that's some of the practice I'll sneak in. I need y'all to communicate that stuff. But quotient rule says take the derivative of the numerator times the denominator left alone minus the derivative of the denominator with the numerator left alone all over the denominator squared. So this goes to 0. You get that derivative looks like this, which is not what you said, but notice you could kind of split this up. You could put sine over one cosine and then 1 over the other cosine. You okay with these being equivalent? Okay, well what is another name for this? And what's another name for that? So the derivative of secant x is what you thought. So if you remember it's 1 over cosine, which you absolutely need to know, and you take the time to do quotient rule, you could figure it out in a moment if you had to. So.
Also, I think I would have chosen secant as our U.
Yeah, that one's hard to pick out the correct U on that one.
Yeah.
So there's no definite way of picking out the correct U. Trial and error.
Yes. Educated guesses.
What would lead you to make an educated guess?
Being educated?
What education do I need?
Calculus education, I don't know.
Okay, wait, going on that though, let's say we take the wrong U, will it ever give us a result
Okay.
that looks correct?
Sure. So pick a U.
2x.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that being your guess. But if you pick that, what is du going to be equal to?
2. Oh, that's not possible.
To what?
DX.
Dx.
Yeah.
You need the dx. Okay. Can I use u's and du's? Can I if all I need to replace are 2's, x's, 2's, and du's, then I can make that substitution. But does that look anything like this?
Not really.
So that's probably not the best guess for you. So try something different.
Tangent.
Okay. Tangent x or 2x?
2x.
Okay. What's the derivative of tangent? Too slow. Secant squared times chain rule. That looks better, right?
A little bit.
We've got a tangent 2x. We need that. And I don't think that's how I did this question.
That looks pretty good.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Let's run with this. This is not how I did this. I picked out a different U.
Looks like it's gonna work.
The way I did it, this works.
Okay. I actually picked U to be secant 2x.
Did that work as well?
And then I just had this replaced as U squared. It did, but I had to do a 1/2. So,
This math works out, you can choose that.
okay. So this is U.
Lesson learned, you can choose anything for you.
Tommy, don't do that. Okay, I think this looks okay. Are you guys okay with why I did the 1/2?
Where's the 1/2 coming from?
Well, this has a 2 because of chain rule.
So you buy it out then.
And this doesn't have a 2. There's not a 2 here. So this is U. The other replacement I need is secant squared 2x dx. I don't want the 2 there, so to make this 2 go away, I'm dividing this side by 2, which means I need to divide this side by 2. This gets replaced with 1/2 du. Okay, and then undo power rule, raise the power by 1, divide by the new power. All right. We need to change these bounds. When x is 0, what's the tangent of 2 times 0? Two times 0 is 0. So
0?
that's correct. Think about tangent, just sine divided by cosine. 0 divided by 1 would be 0, so that stays the same. And then plug in pi over 8. Pi over 8 times 2 would be pi over 4. What's the tangent at pi over 4?
1.
Very good. So your answer should come from 1/4. Plug in 1 and square it. Plug in 0 and square it. Subtract those, and you still end up with 1/4. So, not even how I did it on my paper the other day. I picked out a different u, and I still got it to work. The main thing is, it does matter what you pick for u. But as long as your u and du, if it creates everything to switch all the x stuff to u stuff, if everything has a replacement and it fits perfectly, then it should be fine. Then it doesn't matter which u you picked.
When we get to you said later on that you're doing a series with multiple different things. We said there's like C's and D's. Is that right?
D's and dv's.
That was it. Is there going to be multiple U's that we'll have to do when we get there?
Well, we don't like to reuse u.
Okay.
If u equals one thing, we don't want u to equal something else, because then that doesn't make sense in math.
Got it.
So that's why u is going to be one thing,
And you'll make another letter.
and then a different letter will be v.
Okay.
Yeah, v. That's for another day. Right now we got to worry about this. Yeah.
Go ahead and do this. Or
Just hang on to it for right now. Okay, I'm going to offer, I think there's only 2 more of these we haven't looked at yet, which is 4 and 5. But has anyone tried either one of those and had gotten stuck? Okay, which one are you looking at?
4.
Oh, 4. Next worksheet.
Okay, let me give the directions for the next worksheet, because I know some of you are getting there. The next worksheet has, I don't know, a couple sets of questions, like 6 different sets of questions. Each set has 2 questions. One of those 2 you can use u substitution on, and one of those 2 you cannot use u substitution on. I want you to think about which one of those 2 u substitution would work on and do the u substitution question. You don't have to do both. In fact, there's a couple of those I don't think you'll be able to figure out. But it's good for you to think about when u substitution works and when it doesn't work. Okay, so back to question 4. All right, so I'm going to guess for you picked 1 minus x,
Yes.
since it's stuck up in the exponent, which means du is going to be negative dx, correct? Okay, so in place of this, I could change this to e to the u, and then the other x replacement is dx. That's why you got to keep up with the dx and du stuff. I also need to replace dx. I don't know what dx is equal to, but I know what negative dx is equal to. So multiply this side by -1, multiply this side by -1. Dx is the same thing as negative du. Basically what we're doing there, that's the step that's undoing chain rule, so that you don't have to undo chain rule in your head. So force yourself to just solve for du, compare what you have to what you need, Multiply or divide this side by that, multiply or divide this side by that to keep them balanced. Okay, what can I take to, let me change these bounds. When x is 1, u would be 0. When x is 2, u would be 1. So what can I take the derivative of to get e to the u?
Natural log of u. Okay.
The derivative of e to the x is e to the x. The derivative of e to the u is e to the u. Plug in 1 for e, subtract, plug in, or I'm sorry, for u. Plug in 1 for u, subtract, plug in 0 for u. E to the first would be e. What about e to the 0?
Minus 1.
Just plug that in one then.
Because anything to the 0 power is 1. So you could either leave it like this, or if you want to distribute the negative, you can distribute the negative. I don't know how they did it, but.
So 1 minus 1 over e.
Okay, that does not look.
Is your top bound -1? Yeah, I think it's -1.
Oh, yeah. When I plug in 2 here, this is 1 minus 2, so this should have been -1. Thank you.
You take it and go first.
So what is e to the -1? How can we make that look different?
1
over e.
Okay. There we go. Now it looks.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go. Now it's okay.
But does it matter if the negative's on the back?
Right. Do you have to do anything different there?
The negative on top with the fraction.
For the
Or
balance?
for the
And it's
bounds?
yeah. Yeah, once you touch it, yeah. Then you just plug that in.
Do you have to negate that?
Doesn't the,
Small one have to be on the bottom?
yeah,
No, smaller number does not have to be on the bottom.
no?
There's
Mm-mm.
no case in which it has to be on bottom?
Mm-mm.
Last year we were taught that it had to be on the, or bigger had to be on top. Smaller had to be on bottom.
Okay, now there's a trick that you can do where, so let's say we're integrating from, let's say you don't like this. I tend to not like this too, but let's say you had this integration question. You are welcome to switch these limits of integration, switch them like that, but there's something you have to do before you can say these are equal.
Or minus.
Negative? Yeah, negate.
Right. If you, okay, yeah, if that's what you mean by negate it, sure. If you multiply by a negative, then you can. So you could have done that on this question too. So let me, look, I'll erase it and come up with the same answer. If I want to switch the limits of integration, you can do that as long as you multiply your answer by a negative. So then you're plugging e to the 0 minus e to the -1, which is the same thing. So that may be what you were thinking about. But no, the smaller numbers usually on bottom, the bigger numbers usually on top, but it doesn't have to be that way. If that bugs you, just switch them and multiply it by a negative and it's fixed. So you do need to know this property though. They expect you to know that property anyway, whether you use that or not. So
My friend told me that after the AP exam last year, and I got so worried.
after the AP exam?
Yeah, I was
Oh.
like, oh shoot, I didn't notice that.
There's a little.
Yep.
Just figure out which one.
Oh, that's all. Oh.
Okay, I know we've looked at most of those together, but I'll come around and help. I think there might have been one other one. So if you're still stuck on number 5, let me look at where you're getting to help you get past that. And you guys are, as long as I'm not working a question on the board or something, you're encouraged and welcomed to look at your neighbor's paper, help each other out. So.
This one's the same.
Okay.
Think so?
Well, all of this is under the square, so I would try that as your u. Try 1 plus natural log of x as your u.
It's 1, right?
Okay, so we're going to solve for du.
you got some notes from last year you can look at? I mean, I can tell you what the derivative is, but that's not gonna help you remember it, so.
I don't have them on me, but I have them.
Okay, so the derivative of the constant's always 0, and the derivative of natural log is 1 over x. And then technically this is over dx, but we'll just multiply it over, so also put dx there. Okay, so now you've got everything you need. You've got u squared, and the 1 over x dx is the same thing as u. Anybody else want me to peek at your number 5 to give you a hint?
You can't have an x in this equation.
That's correct.
So, what should d do?
Okay, so right here, this is good u, so this is u squared here.
X squared plus 5.
Your other stuff though was 1 over x dx.
I just separated it.
That's exactly what you got, so in place of 1 over x dx, you can just put du. Yeah, you don't even need that out front, that's actually gonna make it easier for you.
Thank you.
So is it? Oh, wait, it's so then
You forgot to add the 1. Your u is 1 plus.
it's 1 over u. Integral 1 over u would be natural log
Actually,
u.
it does that same thing.
This derivative of natural log of x is 1 over x. So derivative, or so integral of 1 over x would be natural log of x. So this is this. Right, good. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Stop playing your green. Spanish. Wait. You want to put a basket where?
You got, yeah, cause like,
Yeah.
and then you gotta plug in. No, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
that's
Yeah. I got this back to you. Plug you
Yeah,
in,
that's
I plug you back.
After this, I have AP Physics 1.
So yeah, you did third over that. And then you push it back.
Long B days, I have, personal finance.
See the next one.
Mr. Davis.
You take it, you talk?
The required one.
Yep.
Well,
There's
you have to
required.
It's required. You have to take AP. It's required. No, it's required.
Okay, just real quick, for some of you guys that are not used to this, that one website that I had you bookmark, our class website. So as I said, not only do I record our class so that you can watch it from beginning to end, specifically when you miss class, but I also do try to make individual videos of questions that might be helpful for you. So now, if you refreshed it, the ones that I recorded earlier from where you asked, you can notice under assignment 3, there's now some video solutions. So maybe you get home, you realize, man, I just wasn't paying, I didn't know how to do number 3 and I wasn't paying attention at the right time. All you have to do is click that one and it will take you to just a video of that one question. So 3 minutes. So very to the point, try to make it as convenient as possible. So I try to add those things over time as we go through them, just in case it helps. Okay, I need a kind of a check-in here. So I need y'all to be working on the second one unless you are stuck on number 3. So please be working on assignment 4 unless you're not finished with assignment 3. You good?
Yep.
Finished. You done with number 3? You? Good done. You're done? Yes. Okay. You don't believe me? I gotta pick on somebody besides Tommy all year, so.
You told me.
I'll take
Call him Tommy Boy, he likes that better.
I love Tommy. It's not that great.
Number 6.
You got all those?
Yeah.
You finished that?
That's the one I pick up now.
You all good with them 3? You did all the institutional info already? This is like,
Don't take it personally.
So you can change
all of that to you to the negative.
Alright, to one minus one ratio.
Yeah, which is just one.
You have 1.5 months. Okay, yeah, what has one closing and then I forgot to bring down that.
Can I help you with this one? On this one, we're gonna raise the power by 1. So before you start doing this, we've got a sidebar over here a little bit. So to undo the power rule, you need to raise the power by 1, so make it e to the 3rd. Yeah, just leave it. And then divide by the new power. Very good. Okay, and then this is going to be from, so you're 1 to 2, let me check. Natural log of 1 is 0, so that's correct. Okay, perfect. So this is from 1 to 2. So make your little bracket. 1 to 2.
You told us this part.
How you did bracket, 1 to 2? Okay, so do you know which one to do? We need to plug in first. So we can do that. So we're gonna get 1/3 times.
Just go visit Las Vegas.
Okay, yeah.
We don't even need to look, since you changed the amount, we don't even need to see this. Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, I was in San Diego this summer as well.
Yeah?
What time?
Very good.
This would have been mid-June.
Now make sure you distribute that 1/3 since you didn't put parentheses in there. So
Right.
1/3 times all of that. So you've got 1/3 times this one minus 1/3
At the
times
same time, so we met right before me, and then we just basically did the same trip right after.
That's awesome. I was there on the.
So you're just plugging in, so 1 cube.
Yeah, you can inside the house.
Really?
Yeah.
We stayed on, what's it? Marina Del Rey.
So now you've got 8/3, 1 like minus 1/3.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where did you stay?
We don't stay in.
Maybe just try it again later.
Outside,
Make sure that it's
start
okay.
driving. I am
Working on it.
looking back at one.
Yeah.
I'm building number 3. I'm just working on it.
It looks like
Number 2.
Oh.
I was talking about worksheet number 3.
One for you. Maybe.
This house thing. The last time I went there, they went there and most of my guests bought it and revamped the house.
Good.
That was hard to see. Yeah.
Getting all the use sub on these?
I think so. I don't think there's a problem. I'll come and start what to be done this fast.
Well, just each pair had 1 use sub. That's all I asked you to do so far.
Okay.
There's a couple of the others you can figure out, but there's a couple you don't know how to do yet. So one of them's a BC topic, and one of them is just a hard AB topic that we usually don't even teach in AB.
Yeah, so it's a strategy with the algebraic manipulation.
It could be.
What's your strategy?
Calculus manipulation? I don't know. You don't have to do both of them though.
Oh, you don't have to do
No.
both of them.
I want you to figure out which one is going to be U sub and do that one.
Okay.
We'll worry about the other one later.
Okay.
I didn't give you enough class time to do all of every one.
Gotcha.
Unless you just remember it really well from last year, then that's fine.
I don't.
Okay, so,
That's I'm working on it.
yeah, I know.
We're getting there.
I mean, I think you said you wanted to go. Yeah, it is. Dude, we're almost out of time. So we're not really fast. Oh, because the next version of the merchant. Let's see.
DU? I think it's just DU, because the DU represents that one. Okay. The DU represents, so the DU equals 1/2 to U. Yeah, they multiply by U. Which is, it doesn't mean that U would naturally go on top, so you not maybe U divided by 2. Is it 1 over U or is it? I think it's not your question.
Mr. Townsend, when I'm over here, and I have my DUs, and I get it down to when I'm about to integrate,
So we done?
or,
Okay.
yeah, that's integrated. Do I make it so it's 1 over U?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
As that x squared plus 5's in the denominator. So if you don't make it 1 over u, it's like working like it's in the numerator, so.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Thank you.
And then you'll need natural log to integrate.
You said parentheses. Okay, so yeah, I know that one. Or they come as like.
Was it supposed to be 1 over U?
Supposed to be 1 over U.
Does that allow us to then integrate it? Because 1 over U is pretty natural log.
Is it still 8? 1 over U.
The integration of the U is
Natural log of U,
Yeah,
right?
it's 8.
the derivative of natural log is interesting.
It might have been specific. Well, 8 classes though was like the entire month.
Natural log
Yeah, it's
4 is going to be 5.
4 is, I played 6. I don't know.
I think it's natural log of U.
Natural log of U. Which is 4.
So I did the 1/2 times 1.
You have 2 1/2?
Yeah, so I have one that I carried over.
Also, like,
That much
yeah,
is
it's
just.
just. Are you like doctors?
So 1/2 natural
Is that?
Well, you could.
I think it's still over 2.
Okay.
Right,
Or
or
that's
natural log of U over 2.
Or
It
that's.
would just be.
Same thing as that, but.
Yeah.
It would just be excused.
It would be
Excused.
excused.
Okay. But it wouldn't. That makes sense.
Wonderful, that's better.
I'll see this next one.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I didn't actually, because I took this as my U, so it's U over 1.
I wonder if I like, if I ever put like tournaments or something that aren't that big.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna
Thought I
work.
messed that one up, but I didn't.
I wonder if I probably still in those classes. Hopefully not.
It would probably be excused.
Yeah, that's, I feel like if we like explain it to them, maybe excuse. Yesterday. I need to ask.
Yeah.
Do you know if everyone?
Everyone?
Do you know if everyone is what?
Oh, no, you didn't say?
No.
I was gonna
I wasn't
ask
there.
this morning, but-
I wasn't there.
You didn't know?
No, it's this morning. I think it's last night. Yeah.
What match?
Jamie had a match.
Wait, just JV, not
Just
varsity.
JV.
I don't know, I was gonna ask you.
Okay.
Volume is-
I need to share a couple things with you guys. One is, I did make, our agendas here are always going to be tentative. So I adjusted the homework piece just a bit. So there's no reason you shouldn't be done with number 2. If you didn't have your Chromebook with you to sign up for those websites, I need you to do that between now and Friday. Number 3, I went over every question with you except one, and I went around and offered to help you. So if you're not done with that, you need to finish that up for homework. But on number 4, I originally was going to ask that you turn in the whole thing, but now I'm only going to ask that you turn in the U substitution questions. So again, question 1 has 2 parts. One of them can be worked with U sub, one of them can't be worked with U sub. I'm asking you to figure out which one is U sub and do that one. But you don't have to do all 12 questions there, just the U sub of each of the 6. So that's fine if it takes you a little bit more time, but that's where I need you to practice and feel a little more comfortable on Friday. Is everybody okay with where you need to be on that? Okay, 2, just a quick little check-in. Did anybody have anything cool to share about your summer break, or any comments on your AP scores? Better than you thought, worse than you thought? Anything you want to share about this summer? Anybody go anywhere cool?
Boys' State was
Home?
Brandon went to California.
Okay. What'd you do there?
I went all around the country on a college tour, so I went up to New York, Boston, Philly, then down to Miami, then over to Southern California.
Okay. And so which ones did you like the most?
I liked
NYU, I like being in the city. I like Miami. That was my top one I saw in that visit.
How many colleges did you visit?
Yeah, that was 12 colleges in that visit.
So how many have you visited in total?
I was 18 now.
Dang. It's 18 more than me.
Have you not seen the U there?
No, I haven't.
You've driven by it, that counts.
Driven by it, yeah.
Okay, and I've got something a little bit different for you. So if you don't have that homework piece done, you're welcome to keep working on that because you still got 20 minutes. But I also have a puzzle to share with you guys today.
Is it the one that you're going to tell us the answer at the end of the year?
Didn't I tell you at the end of the year?
I think
No,
you
you
did.
told our class at the end of the year.
He was in your class.
Oh, he was. Listen, I don't pay attention to the people in the class, ever.
Maybe he was absent that day or something.
Maybe I left.
No, I don't share the answer to that until the end of the year. I don't like people to tell other people and spoil it. So. Okay, so even if you have homework, these last 10 minutes, if you want to try this, I watched a YouTube video on this the other day, and it seems pretty simple, but then the more you think about it, it gets a little bit harder.
Does like the first one count? Like when they're like, as soon as the clock starts, does that count as overlap?
It starts at 12 o'clock. They're both together at 12 o'clock. Yes, that's one.
Oh, that's more?
At the start is the first time, yes.
Yeah, some of it. Is it only a
Wait,
minute an hour?
are you counting?
Or you can.
No,
Yeah,
it's
it's only
minute
been
an hour.
an hour.
Never mind.
No, there's no second hands.
Okay.
Just minute and.
So this
So-
this display isn't telling us anything. You're just that question about alone.
Well,
12 times?
you guys don't.
24
Do you
times.
even know how to read a clock?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be once an hour? Wouldn't it be one time?
So how? So what do you think your answer is?
An exact
25.
o'clock at 1:05.
Does it count when they're originally lined up at
I
midnight?
don't want to
Yes.
do the math.
Okay, so that's
Exactly.
They would overlap again.
Well, no, actually, 24.
This
because
part
they
of the
count
question's
at
way
midnight.
harder, by the way.
23.
So especially like.
What are the
6:30.
times? 24, right?
Why 23?
I hear 23. I hear 24. I heard 25.
So this counts as one. And since it's one day, it definitely be lined up again.
So that's the hour, and that's the second one, right?
So
A minute, that's a minute. That's
So
not
it's
half.
23, I'm not gonna do the math.
Okay.
Just 1, 2.
Yeah, we could just count.
It is
23.
because you double count the 2 midnights.
Now, if you double count the midnight, so it's
No, so you subtract the double count. The double count.
yeah, so if you double count the midnight, it's 25.
Oh, wait.
So if you count the midnight on one day, you just have
Huh?
Oh, why?
you don't count the midnight.
Well, you're just worried about the tips pointing to the exact same spot. There's no trick. It's not tricky. There's no like, you know, there's no catch to it that,
Shouldn't that be just 7 to 3?
you know.
And then
Piece of paper.
Do I have a piece of paper? Yeah, I got extra paper. Okay, so you've had time to think about it. I'm not going to share the answer right now, but somebody throw out an answer you think it could be.
23.
Okay, I heard 24. Raise your hand if you think it's 24. Okay. What was another answer?
23.
24.
23. Okay, raise your hand if you think 23. 1.5?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's your guess? Okay. What's another guess?
25.
Okay, raise your hand if you think it's 25. Okay. He's not even the one who said 25. Okay, any other guesses? 23, so it was what? 23, a lot of 24s, and 125? Is that right? Okay.
Great, thanks.
I just want to know
So
what.
what's the answer?
Okay.
Just want me to tell you right away?
Yes.
We're gonna look it up.
ChatGPT.
How many people do you think got it right?
I have no idea.
Oh,
None, probably.
I think somebody did.
How do you count what?
Wait, I think it's actually, yeah, it's 23 and a half.
How do you
No, because it can't overlap at midnight twice is the thing.
Yeah, so that'd be 25 if it did that.
Wait,
Yeah.
so it's 24,
So it's
right?
24.
Thompson's
So
a
it's
genius, I'm
23.
gonna go with whatever he
Wait, we can
says.
just.
Wait, no,
Oh,
wait, but
Puzzle piece master.
We need,
Yeah.
is there a clock?
1, 2,
Like
3.
this.
We need to wind it.
Guard clock.
15, 16, 17.
No.
Things we come to when we come to opponents.
Okay, when's the first time they overlap?
The first
Immediately.
midnight.
Immediately.
Exactly midnight.
Okay, at midnight. When's the second time they overlap?
105.
Sometime in 1
Wait.
o'clock.
105.
Roughly 105.
Sometime in 1 o'clock.
Why 105?
105.
Because one.
No, they don't have the
The
one.
one bit. The 1 o'clock and the 5 bit.
Because the whole hour.
Wait,
Wait,
no,
what else?
They overlap like 106.
No, but 105 would need to be in the.
Like,
And then
105 is like.
Lengthy
exactly 105.
Well, no, not right.
Right past 105.
It's 105 and a little bit.
Yeah.
105 and something.
If it's at 105.
And 112.
105, so the minute hand would be pointing here,
Yes.
and the hour hand would be pointing where?
1.
Slightly after
Slightly
1.
beyond
Slightly beyond 1.
So it's a little bit after 105. But I'm kind of.
It's like
Right after
it's some
105.
seconds
Right
after
after
105.
1-6.
Or maybe 106, maybe 106 and 10 seconds.
Huh?
I think it's 20.
That's what I said.
Okay, well, yeah, we had a couple 23 answers. So you can see that the second time they line up, it's kind of harder to figure out, right?
Yes.
So you would think it's 1 o'clock, but then it's here and here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then this has to get like 5 minutes, but then this also has moved a little bit.
Yeah.
So this got to play catch up.
Interesting.
Lots of math right there.
Nobody.
Okay,
Well,
so
what's the derivative of the clock?
Well,
I'm gonna pretend like you.
I think you have to
Can I change my answer even though I cheated?
Okay, first off, what? Nobody had an answer for number 2, obviously, because that's pretty tough. You'd have to put some thought in.
Well, the second one.
Question number 1, nobody got it right.
what was
It's
it,
22.
105 and something, 106 and something. I mean, 206 and something, 307 and
It's,
something.
I think it's 21.
I shared a YouTube video with you on Google Classroom that goes over the answer. So they tell you the answer and they tell you how to do it.
With no phones.
You've got Google, you've got Chromebooks.
Come on, man.
So your answer is in our Google Classroom if you care to watch that.
It's not that.
You should write score. I got
I saw a video of those couches. Another middle school, it's like literally a power.
Oh, by the way, this question has been used as an interview question for Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Goldman Sachs. Lots of places have used this as an interview question.
That's
Hey.
21.
I sent you the solution video,
No, I looked it up. I cheated.
but why 22? 22 is the answer, by the way.
It's not gonna overlap the 11 hours.
So
By the time it gets to the 11 hours, already midnight or noon.
105.
Answer the questions. So what's the answer? Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
22.
The answer is 22, but the video shows you how and the answer to the second question. So if you're interested, go watch it. If you don't care, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up on my
What'd you say? I guess it's because the clock's gonna start moving, right? So there's gonna be like the hour hand starts moving by the time this one's gonna reset, you know. So by the time it gets around, we'll look again.